I can't think of a piece of equipment that has helped me more, honestly, from head to toe than the Neubie.
I'm Garrett Salpeter, and I believe that the most powerful and transformative way to help people recover from pain and injury, heal from trauma, and reach their highest levels of fitness and performance is to focus on the nervous system. In this podcast, we'll share knowledge from the frontiers of neuroscience and inspirational stories of how applying that knowledge has empowered people from all walks of life to heal, adapt, and grow. I am here with Lance Winn from the Lone Star Paralysis Foundation.
Thank you.
Lance, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And I'm really excited to dive in here and talk about all the things that we have to talk about here. Can we start with a little bit of your personal story?
Sure. Okay, 3.5 years ago, I went in for my 9th back surgery. I walked in and I didn't walk out. I had a very rare, no fault of the surgeon, surgeon's phenomenal, a spinal stroke. And it short-circuited me from the waist down. I came out of surgery paralyzed from the waist down. So, shocking to everybody, shocking to our family. We weren't expecting anything like that because I've always bounced back from every surgery. I'm a Marine, I'm an ex-athlete, so it was kind of like, okay, fine, we'll get in, we'll get this done. But it didn't happen that way. And so I came out paralyzed, where I thought I'd walk out in 4 days. I spent 10 days in intensive care, 32 or 3 days in inpatient rehab, and then got discharged. And we didn't even know where to move back to. Our home has stairs all around, and so we ended up spending 7 months in a hotel, residence inn, which was kind of funny because they were phenomenal people, and it was a Band-Aid, and we, were we going to sell our house? Where were we going to move? What was going to happen? And some of the doctors said, well, we got to put him in a nursing home. And that wasn't going to happen. And it was like, I don't need nursing, I need rehab.
Yeah.
I said, I need rehab. I can do this. And my wife is my rock, and she said, we can do this. So during that time period, we got involved in some very acute spinal cord injury rehab. And we worked really hard. In the first 8 months, I never missed a day. And it was one of those kind of things that we said, this is the only way that we'll get better. And I made a commitment to my wife. I said, if I never walk again, it won't be for lack of effort in that rehab center. What's interesting in life is that when one door shuts, another opens, is this was a Seton brain and spine. And
which is a local hospital system here in Austin, big major system.
Major system. Yeah. And they pulled the plug on this rehab center. Gave us like 9 days that say you need a new rehab center. And unfortunately, for me, we were traveling at the time. We got back on a Wednesday and they were closing Friday. So we had 2 days to find out where I was going to do my rehab. And somebody mentioned Spinal. And I said, well, nobody's going to tell me where to go. I need to be comfortable where we go. So I said, what's the address? So we got the address, and Barb and I drove over on Wednesday and walked in there. And the gal behind the desk, Elisa, we said, yes, we've been told this is a rehab center, but I don't know if you can help me. And she goes, oh, we can help you. Mm-hmm. And she got up out of behind her desk, walked to us, took us back into the clinic, and started showing us some things. And the director there, Matt Elizondo, came out of his office, and in 30 seconds, 1 minute, I knew I was in the right place. Awesome. I said, this is phenomenal. And it turns out his wife, Lauren Elizondo, is the spinal cord therapist, physical therapist. She's accredited and stuff. So she's become my therapist. And that's how I got my connection to Spinal. And I knew about Lone Star Paralysis Foundation.
So let's just establish the context here for everyone's benefit who's listening. So Lone Star Paralysis Foundation that you'll talk about is a foundation, and they have a relationship. Spiro, the clinic where you happened upon here in Austin is the flagship location,
Yes.
or flagship treatment facility for the Lone Star Paralysis Foundation, right?
That's exactly correct. The Lone Star Paralysis Foundation is 41 years old, founded by Doug English, All-American football player for UT, played All-Pro for Detroit Lions, himself hurt his neck, if you will, and also had a very good friend that had a spinal cord injury, and that got him involved. And phenomenal individual, absolute phenomenal individual. And so, as it turned out, as I'm a patient or client, if you will, of Spiro, Doug asked me to join the board, and I said, "Well, absolutely. I mean, it's been a spark in my life. It's given me a little giddy up in my step, so to speak, and our partnership with Spiro is a very good business relationship where their mission and our mission are aligned. You know, Lone Star has like 3 R's, you know, research, recovery, and recreation. Mm-hmm. And so what we have found with Spiro, the collect thing, and then they start, and here's that perfect gait, and it was moving parts of my hips and the groin area in the legs that hadn't moved in a long time, and it took my breath away. Mm-hmm. But you build up resistance, and you build it, you know, and that's what it can do. It can lower body weight for somebody such as maybe a quadriplegic or somebody even a paraplegic that has nothing. It can at least get that movement going because they can't. Mm-hmm. And by being vertical compared to always being seated and stuff, it just helps the flow of blood and everything else.
Tremendous.
And you see the look on these people, and you always tease and go, look how tall you are, and look how good you look, and stuff like that. So yeah, this piece of equipment, and then they can, you know, what they do with me now that I'm seasoned on it, and is they challenge me. They lower more body weight onto my legs, and more resistance, where if I don't pick up my feet, if I don't make those steps, it stops. Mm-hmm. You know, your foot drops and stuff like that. So it's a challenging piece of equipment, that's for sure. It's not your friend sometimes. But so that's an excellent piece of equipment. Then we have FES bikes, and we have all sorts of things that for even the open gym that people can come in and utilize, and like rollers and stuff like that.
There's the virtual reality room.
Oh,
talk about that too.
Eric Lance is an occupational therapist by trade, and he's got that. You came in and saw that, and he's doing some phenomenal work. Mm. Phenomenal work with people that can virtually do some things and stuff. You know, if I can regress a little bit and go back to Lone Star when we talk about some of the things that they're doing. The recreation piece, Mike Haynes and some of his folks that and Ryan Sproul that work with him, take people with disabilities, and they take them to shoot bows, to shoot rifles, to kayak, to fish. And some of the things that they have, and we put it in storage and stuff, it's amazing what's behind the scenes, right? Garrett, I'm sorry, I was thinking Ryan Sprouse, Garrett. The things behind the scenes are amazing what Lone Star does for the community. Very much community driven. So these pieces of equipment are also part of Spiro, and Spiro sometimes will create a training session like we had last Friday, where they took a number of patients, myself included, and we went kayaking for the first time.
That's awesome.
It was, I was like, okay, I can get in a kayak. I'm not sure I can get out of a kayak, but they were there to help, and just the team at Spiro, you know, that's their mindset. It's more than a mat, and it's more than push-ups and sit-ups and do this and stuff like that. It really is a collaborative way of thinking. You know, I'm so glad got you involved, where you came over, and a number of their therapists are being trained by NeuFit for the Neubie. It's, this community is starting to grow.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a spinal cord injury does not discriminate.
Yeah.
When you see young kids hurt,
Yeah.
it'll break your heart. Anybody that gets hurt, people that have enjoyed their health and they're out riding a bike and they hit a bump or a car accident, it changes your life.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We've seen some cases, heard some stories,
Yeah.
and to be able to make a difference in the lives of these people is just, you can't even really describe it, let alone,
Well, it should give you some gratitude of what you've done with all your research and your education and stuff like that. And I'm just a firm believer. I come from a technology background, that I tell some of these people, especially the younger ones, hang in there. There will be a chip one day that they'll put into your spine. They're a little bit, there's the medicine, there's the things that Dr. Bittner is doing at University of Texas that Lone Star supports about nerve regeneration.
yeah, that's exciting research.
It really is, and exoskeletons and robotics, huge in itself. And there's another professor at the Northern Arizona University working on an exoskeleton, and he asked me to come by, and I did in Phoenix, and he came down and he put it in, their whole model was for pediatrics.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so encouraged with what he saw in an adult that they went back and changed their model so that it can be not only pediatrics, but it can also be adults.
Oh, fabulous.
So technology is going to be there.
So we've heard about your experience finding Spiro, then getting involved as a board member of the Lone Star Paralysis Foundation, and then that's the capacity in which we met, where
Yes.
Spiro and the foundation were interested in potentially acquiring a Neubie and installing it in the facility there, and then we got to meet and talk about what that would look like, the type of training we provide. Obviously, as you mentioned, we ended up training several members, 5 or so therapists, occupational and physical therapists, and a PTA
Yes.
from Spiro. We've gone through our certification program. Can you talk a little bit specifically about how the Neubie has, the type of impact it's had, how it's been used there at Spiro?
Absolutely. I use the Neubie at least twice a week, personally. And what I was able to do by being a firsthand, you demonstrated it on me, and I shared with Clay, you electrocuted me, but you demonstrated on me that what the potential of it was, and the severity of everybody's injury is different. And so what I've seen and what we negotiated with you and what we've worked and partnered with you is getting more of the Spiro people certified, and for that I appreciate, and I'm very grateful that you're so open-minded about that. And so I see this more than anybody, Garrett, because if I'm not working on it, somebody else is. That piece of equipment is in use all the time. And I use it head to toe. I'm injured actually from my knees down. My paralysis has shrunk, thankfully, and now I'm paralyzed from the knees down. No calves, no dorsiflexion, no ankles, no and stuff like that, no toes. But I use my upper body so much, as most spinal cord injury people do, for transfer from the chair in the toilet, transfer their chair into their car, transfer. I had 4 rotator cuff surgeries prior to this injury as well. So my upper body was was damaged. There's a lot of trauma in my shoulders. They've used the Neubie on my core, which is incredible, and on my shoulders, and the range of motion, because they do this. We have to go through tests every 10 visits or something like that for, in my case, for Medicare, and they show progress. And the range of motion and stuff that I have developed in my shoulders is in lack of pain, by the way. I was in pain. I used to just in the middle of the night knead into my shoulder and stuff like that. And I see this with other people, and I encourage them too. I have such a good friend on the board, Javier Corona, that is a quadriplegic, and his posture, and he's squirming and stuff. I said, I'd love for you to be on the Neubie. I'd love to see, because I remember you showing me a video of a person on a mat with like a stick and stuff like that. And I just think Javier would do great to strengthen his core and sit in his chair and stuff. So I encourage so many people to raise their hand and say, on my next session, can I do the Neubie? And one of the things that I am seeing the most progress, the best results have been my upper body. When they stick my feet in water.
Yeah.
And then I keep telling them, turn it up. And they move, I think it's electrode. And if they move it over the top of my ankle, which, because a drop foot is like this, somebody will do it for you and do it professionally trained for you. And Jerry is doing great.
Good.
I see him. He's walking in front. I see him in the clinic, and you talk about being able to utilize the piece of technology, the equipment, the right way, and being able to be pushed by a therapist. He too is a success story, and he's doing really good.
Awesome.
So there's another success story for the Neubie.
Beautiful. I love to hear it. If anyone feels inspired to look up Spiro or the foundation,
Yes.
What's the best way? Either website or
Website. Yeah, Spiro Rehab, SpiroRehab.com, and of course Lone Star Paralysis.
SPERO.
SPERO Rehab, and then the Lone Star Paralysis.org.
Okay.
And both of our websites will connect one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good partnership once again that we have. But please, look up Lone Star. Get directed if any of your patients need extra help. Get directed to Spiro. They're very strong ortho as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what I represent and what I see and what Lone Star does is the neuro.
Right.
And they are neurospecific, and they're hiring people to work with neuro patients, especially at their flagship at 42nd Street in Guadalupe.
Fabulous. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on, Lance. It's a pleasure, as always, to be with you.
Here, it's great to see you, and thank you.
I'm so glad to hear that the progress is continuing, and excited to have you back on in some number of months and hear more.
Hopefully there'll be more, but this is great, and if I can encourage any of your other clients, this is outstanding, and thank you.
Our pleasure. I appreciate you coming on.
Okay.
This has been fabulous. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much for listening to the Undercurrent podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date as we release future episodes.